This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works, with meteorologist CJ Cartledge.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'm meteorologist CJ Cartledge here on the podcast once again. I hope you guys have had a great week so far and a great start to your day. We had seen mostly sunny conditions throughout the day, throughout the morning hours so far, and we're expecting those to continue as we move into the lunch hour for today. But we could see clouds increase, and we could see the temperatures and humidity increase, of course, which could bring about some isolated showers and storms as we move through the afternoon hours. So here's a look at our weather breakdown topics, our First Alert Weather Breakdown topics for today. We're going to dive into the local forecast and the tropics. The tropical activity is increasing as of right now. So we're going to be diving into more details about that, as well as a couple of some interesting facts about the hurricane season that you may or may not know about. That's all coming up in this episode for today. So let's dive right into the local forecast for today. Actually, we're going to start off with some headlines for you guys. And the first headline, it's going to be staying hot and I wouldn't say dry. I was going to say dry, but it's not going to be staying dry for the most part here. For today, most of the area should remain dry, as I should say, but as we move into tomorrow, definitely will not be dry for most of the Arklatex, as rain chances will rise across the region here. But it's going to be staying hot in terms of the temperatures that we can expect here, above the average for this time of year, near or above the average for this time of year. But as we move towards the weekend and into the next work week, cooler air as well as higher rain chances are expected to return here into the Arklatex. So let's take a quick look at our First Alert infrared satellite and radar as of right now. I'm going to move myself off of the screen so you see the entire picture across the country. And as you can see, trying to fit the entire country into the screen here, we are looking at a large low pressure system as of right now in the middle of the country and affecting areas in the northern portions of the country near the Great Lakes region, as well as a large and weak high pressure system off in the eastern half of the country right now, extending its conditions all the way to the far north and eastern portions of the United States, as well as here into the Arklatex. As we move into the next couple of days ahead, this cold front is expected to push into the region. Actually, it's expected to push to the north to the east and mainly south and east here, extending its cooler air into regions like Texas, into Oklahoma, into Louisiana, Arkansas, all around the Arklatex, and into portions of as far east as I believe Mississippi and I believe the western portions of Tennessee near Memphis here. But we're expecting slightly cooler air to finally reach us here in the Arklatex by the time we hit our Sunday, and rain chances to rise as a result after this cold front finally moves through as we move into the next work week here. But right now, we're dealing with little to no rainfall as of right now, but we are expecting an isolated shower or two to pop up around the Arklatex as we move into this afternoon. A bit more likely for showers and storms as we move into our Friday. Here's a look at temperatures right now. We have warmed up into the mid 80s near Texarkana, Marshall, and Shreveport. 80 for Natchitoches, 81 by Florine, 80 for Nacogdoches. And the only place that's still in the 70s right now is Center, Texas, over in East Texas. And looking at our feels like temperatures, we are dealing with a bit of humidity as of right now. Some areas are dealing with temperatures a couple degrees higher than actual temperatures as of right now. It feels like 90 by Marshall and Texarkana right now. It feels like the upper 80s near Magnolia, Shreveport, and Carthage. It feels like the upper 80s also near Mount Pleasant. Lower 80s by Natchitoches, as well as Nacogdoches and Longview over in East Texas for right now. But the next 5 hours ahead, we can expect these temperatures to continue to increase towards the lower to mid 90s across the region here. And as you can see, the cloud cover does not look to go away, but that looks to possibly give us some relief from the high heat and humidity that we can expect through the daytime hours, as well as the chance for an isolated shower or two, which but some of you may be hoping for as we move through today. Here's a look at our highs for today in the northern portions of the Arklatex. 96 for Stamps, 95 by Hope, Prescott, and Magnolia, 94 for Nashville, 92 up by Broken Bow and Foreman. Over in East Texas, 94 by Carthage, 99 by Henderson, 95 for Longview, 93 over by Nacogdoches and Chirano. Here's a look at Northwest Louisiana, 94 by Coshada, Ringgold, 93 for most portions in the far eastern portions of the Arklatex region within Louisiana. 95 looks to be the high near Shreveport and Bossier for today. Here's a look at future track. We could see an isolated shower or two start to develop around the Arklatex as we move towards the afternoon hours for our Thursday. This looks to last throughout the daytime hours and into some parts of the evening before we can finally call it quits on the rain showers, or the Mother Nature finally calls it quits on giving us rain showers there. We are expecting mostly dry conditions through the night tonight and into tomorrow morning, where, as you can see up in the far north and western portions of your screen, is that cold front finally starting to move through the Arklatex. It's going to be pushing down to the south and east as we move through the daytime hours on our Friday here. So moving on with future track, we should see that front start to move through, bringing isolated showers and storms along the front two portions north of I-30 there during the morning hours. And as we move towards the midday and afternoon, more showers and storms look to develop along that front, ahead of the front actually. We aren't expected to see much showers and storms behind the front, as expected to bring some cooler air, maybe a couple of isolated showers or storms there, but not much behind the front as mentioned before. As we move into our Saturday, we are expecting mostly dry conditions heading into the weekend here, but we still have the chance to see an isolated shower or two during the afternoon hours. Here's a look at our rain chances for the next 5 days. 20% for our Thursday, 40 by our Friday, only 10 to 20% throughout our weekend, as you can see here. And heading into Monday, we could see higher rain chances once again around the Arklatex. And here's a look at our rainfall potential. It doesn't show the totals just yet here. It's a little bit slow this morning, still waking up from this morning's show. But as you can see, the bulk of the rainfall looks to fall in our northern portions of the Arklatex, north and around I-30 there. Areas around I-30 could see upwards of 2 inches of rainfall close to it, and areas to the far north and western portions of the region in McCurtain County could see upwards of 2.5, maybe even 3 inches in some localized areas. But most of the region won't see that much rainfall coming up here. We could see areas around I-20, maybe around an inch of rain is expected, and at the least, maybe a quarter of an inch of rain down to the far south and eastern portions of the Arklatex near Natchitoches Parish and Wynn Parish, just outside of the region. Our viewing area, that is. Here's a look at our drought conditions. It looks to be pretty beneficial for our drought conditions. As you can see, there's a level 2 out of 5 moderate drought ongoing right now near Magnolia, and level 1 out of 5 slight drought for most portions of southwestern Arkansas within the Arklatex. So this rainfall looks to do us some justice here on if we can finally receive some relief or some drier, or not drier, but more wet conditions here to combat with the dry conditions that we have seen through the past week or so. Here's a look at our forecast highs for the next 5 days. We should see a drop in temperatures due to higher rain chances for our Friday, and heading into Saturday, we should see drier conditions around the Arklatex, which should cause temperatures to rise back towards the low to mid 90s across the region, back in the lower 90s and upper 80s heading into our Sunday. But as we head into Monday and Tuesday, Monday actually is the first day of fall, and as you can see, temperatures drop into the 80s right in time for the first day of fall. Still going to be warm out there around the Arklatex, but not as warm as what we have been seeing, or what we will see throughout this weekend, and what we will see through today and tomorrow. So fall-like conditions are on the way, just in time for the first day of fall, which arrives September 22nd on our Monday. Here's a look at our 7-day forecast. We are expecting slim rain chances for our Thursday, low to mid 90s for highs, low stay in the 70s throughout most of the 7-day period here. We are expecting Temperatures to drop into the lower 90s and upper 80s for our Friday due to higher rain chances. And heading into our Saturday and Sunday, conditions remain mostly dry, but temperatures to remain in the 90s. Back in the 80s we go as we move towards the first day of fall and the first day of the new work week for our Monday. And throughout Tuesday, we should still see higher rain chances as compared to the previous days, as you can see through the weekend. And heading into our Wednesday, next Wednesday that is, we should see potentially drier conditions around the Arklatex here with temperatures still in the 80s for this time of year. And I was looking at the 12-day forecast, and most of the numbers that I'm seeing holds highs in the 80s throughout much of next week. So we could see fall-like conditions throughout next week potentially. So we'll have to wait and see and get closer in time to see if those numbers hold true. Because yesterday, I believe I was looking at the 12-day forecast of the day before, and I was seeing 90s across the board for the last 5 days of the 12-day period. So things could change all in all. So yes, that's pretty much what's going to be going on here around the Arklatex. It's a good deal of rainfall is on the way for us, especially for areas north of I-30. I know you guys are happy about that for areas north of I-30, but for areas around I-20 and southward, not much rain is expected, but you could get around an inch or two for areas around I-20, not so much for areas south of I-20, well south of I-20 that is. But coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about the tropics and how the activity has increased through the past couple of days with a newly formed tropical storm, and we'll see how that's doing, as well as another area of potential development that we're going to be checking out here on the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown coming up after this 2-minute break. Make sure to stay tuned, and we'll be talking about the tropics in around 2 minutes. And good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Here's a look at tropical climatology before we dive into the details of what's going on here around the tropics as of right now. I'm going to move myself off the screen. We have just moved into the second half of this year's hurricane season. We have passed the peak, which actually was one of the quietest peak times of this era of the hurricane season that we have ever seen in history. One of the quietest, meaning that we have not seen much storms happen or try to develop through the past couple of days, through the past week or so. The peak was September 10th, which means that September 10th was the day that we've seen the most amount of active storms on average here for this, at least a 30-year average from 1991 to 2020. This is where we stand at today. We're on the downslope in terms of tropical activity. but we could still very well see storms. And that's the reason why we're talking about it today, because the activity is starting to increase as of right now. Here's a look at Tropical Storm Gabriel, which it might be very hard to see as of right now. So let's go ahead and try to zoom in to see exactly where that spin is. As you can see, if you want to look very closely, I'm going to zoom into where the circulation is. And if you probably can find it right now, it's literally the center of the storm is right around here. And as you can see, it doesn't have much it doesn't have much tropical storm activity. That's mainly because it's combating a lot of wind shear, which is a lot of change of wind direction with height. So it's varying. The wind direction is varying at different heights, which is trying to hinder its spin, sort of. And it's also battling a lot of drier air. So when it has moist air, obviously it would have much more thunderstorm activity, but it's not producing much thunderstorm activity as of right now, which is why it sort of looks like a skeleton, a circulation of winds as of right now, with a little bit of skin, if you will. The skin meaning the rain showers and storms that are associated with this tropical storm here. But playing the loop again, that's where the circulation is at the center, and not much thunderstorm activity is going on with it as of right now. But it's still very well a tropical storm, currently sitting at 50-mile-per-hour sustained winds and a pressure of 1004 millibars. It's moving west-northwest at around 15 miles per hour. It's expected to remain a tropical storm through the next couple of days ahead and into our Saturday, where it could potentially reach Category 1 strength. As you can see there, if you don't see it very well, it could reach Category 1 strength by the time we hit early Monday morning at around 7 a.m. here. Category 1 strength meaning that winds are above 74 miles per hour sustained. But that's when it encounters even warmer waters out there, but it more than likely will remain a tropical storm, mainly because of all the wind shear and the dry air that is in place in this region over here. As you can see by the Lesser Antilles Islands over here, I believe there's a little bit more moisture over there, but in the path of where this storm may be heading, according to the NHC forecast, it may encounter a lot of drier air, which will keep it at a tropical storm level. It may sort of decrease in intensity or wind speeds, as you can see there, dropping to around 45 miles per hour by later on today, according to the forecast, and it may stay at 45 miles per hour until it encounters some moisture and it encounters warmer waters, which could give it fuel to continue to grow. But as of right now, according to the forecast, it looks to stay far away from any types of landfall here in the United States, which is a very good sign. And it's a sign that we hopefully should keep here as long as it stays off land. And we are all happy here in the United States. But taking a quick look at Tropical Future Track, I wanted to show you guys exactly with what Future Track is saying associated with this storm here. As you can see, it doesn't show much tropical thunderstorm activity associated with it, but as we move throughout our Thursday, it should continue to make a west-northwestward impact and slowly make its way to the curvature of pretty much the Bermuda High. The Bermuda High is basically an area of high pressure that is in the middle of the Atlantic that pretty much steers the storms to make it curve up to the north, like how it is right now. It's named the Bermuda High because it's semi-permanent over the island of Bermuda there. But as you can see, the storm, the track of it looks to pretty much miss Bermuda by just a little bit. But it could very well get Bermuda could very well get the outskirts of this storm, according to this model. But there's also another area of potential development out there in the tropics as of right now. And this storm is actually on the coastlines of West Africa right now. It's outside of the frame here. But it is forecast to move into the Atlantic and move into that yellow shaded region there that is conducive for tropical storm development. As you may have seen already, developed a tropical storm that is right there, Tropical Storm Gabrielle. But if this tropical storm reaches into the into the Atlantic and reaches into that yellow shaded region right there, it has a 20% chance of formation within the next 7 days. Actually, it's forecast to move into that region, as I should say here. It has a 20% chance of formation within the next 7 days. Not much of a chance within the next 2 days ahead. So we'll continue to watch that very, very closely. And that storm system right there, within that yellow range, it did have a chance of formation within the next 2 and 7 days earlier today and last night, but the National Hurricane Center have removed any types of chances off of this system here, so that area of showers and storms is not expected to become any types of tropical system within the next 2 or 7 days ahead. So let's look at the next week to 2 weeks ahead on what we can expect out there in the tropics. This is the tropical development chances here. The pink range is the 20 to 40% chance of a tropical storm developing in that region there. And as you can see, it looks to pretty much show the same track as what tropical storm Gabrielle is going about as of right now, but this is for the next week to 2 weeks ahead. So by next week, tropical storm Gabrielle will be pretty much out of our hair, according to the forecast. So there's a 20 to 40% chance of formation within the Atlantic as well as in the Gulf of Mexico as of right now. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on this region over here as well as the area over in the Atlantic. But there's also, by the time we hit October 1st to the 7th, there's also another area of potential development. There's a 20 to 40% chance of tropical storm formation within the Gulf of Mexico, parts of the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, as well as in the Atlantic as of right now. So the tropical season is far from over just yet here. And if any tropical storm forms within the next 7 days, or the next one that forms would be named Humberto. And the next few names after that would be Imelda, Jerry, and Karen after that. But little do you guys know, if we use up all of these names on the tropical storm name list, there's actually an auxiliary or a supplementary list that we use here, or not at KSLA, but everyone uses, even at the National Hurricane Center, that they use just in case if more named storms form than expected. And on average, well, not on average, but per usual, the National Hurricane Center supplies 21 named storms, or 21 names to a hurricane season. And more than likely that the hurricane season will not use up all 21 names, but in case if it does, it has an auxiliary list. That a fun fact here is that when there are more storms names, or when there are more storms than names available on the initial list, which is the list that you see there on the screen, hurricane names list for 2025, then a supplemental list using names for letters in the Greek alphabet is used. And last time this was a Greek alphabet was the name for a tropical storm or a hurricane was the 2020 hurricane season, which was the most active season on record since the beginning of record keeping of tropical systems there. It also says to check out the 2020 hurricane season stretch, the original names list, and the current rains for the most active season on record, as you saw there. So yeah, that's a fun fact for you guys that you may not have known about. The auxiliary, or I call it the auxiliary list, but the supplementary list is a list of Greek alphabet names. So Tropical Storm Alpha, Tropical Storm Beta, those type of names would be named for the tropical systems that form after the 21st name. But that's a little bit of some geeky knowledge for you guys, some weather nerd knowledge for you guys there. But that's pretty much all I had to talk about for today in terms of the tropics. So tropical activity is increasing as of right now. It's much more active than what we've been seeing for the past week or 6 to 10 days here in the Arklatex. I know at the peak time for this year's hurricane season, the tropics were absolutely quiet. They had no chance of development through the next 7 days as of September 10th. But now we're at September 18th, and we could very well potentially, or we have a tropical storm out there now, and we have the chance to see another tropical storm form within the next 7 days ahead. So we'll continue to keep our eyes peeled on what we can, or what's in the tropics right now. But and also what's going on in the Arklatex. Make sure to keep that umbrella handy as you're going throughout, especially through tomorrow, through today, through this weekend, and into next week. Even though cooler conditions are on the way for us, make sure to keep the umbrella handy out there. As rain showers and storms are possible with little to no severe threat. So that's good news for you guys. Little to no severe weather is expected, but rain is on the way, and there's no tropical systems expected to hit us or anywhere in the United States anytime soon here. So, man, I want you guys to have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow on KSLA News 12 this morning at 9 a.m. This morning for the 4:30 to 7, as well as 9 a.m. and noon. I'll be back tomorrow, and as well as I'll be back on the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown to talk to you guys about the sports forecast. Tomorrow is Friday Night Football. Of course, there's games going on, so we're going to be talking about the forecast across the Arklatex and for surrounding cities, maybe even some colleges, the NFL teams that may be around the area. We're going to be talking all about that on tomorrow's podcast, so make sure to stay tuned for that tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys either on KSA News 12 at noon tomorrow morning starting at 4:30 a.m., or I will see you tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. on tomorrow's podcast for the First Alert Weather Breakdown.